Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Women Power Impact, a podcast where we discuss women doing impactful work for other women, nonprofits, and organizations. Today, we are talking with Abby Swalga and Shanyn Winnowski for PA Women Work. Abby and Shanyn, thank you so much for being here. Please go ahead and introduce yourselves and your roles. We'll jump into the questions from here.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. Very excited to share the PA Women Work story. So my name is Abby Swalga. I'm the Director of Communications at PA Women Work. So in charge of all of our messaging, branding, website, social media, all those good things fall under my team. So I'll hand it over to Shanyn.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm Shanyn Winnowski, and I am the manager of participant learning at PA Women Work, which is a fancy word, fancy way of saying career coach. So that's like my main role. I've been there for a year, so doing well, loving it.
Awesome, perfect. So now that we've talked about kind of your roles, let's start with what work PA Women Work does as an organization for women. What kind of support and services you guys offer?
So we support women and men in their journey to kind of continue along if they're looking for a job search, or oftentimes we have people who are re-entering the workforce after being gone, either being a stay-at-home mom or even pivoting to a different occupation altogether. They come and meet us virtually, and then we just kind of come alongside them and help them navigate next steps into going back into their career journey and getting started again.
Amazing.
I was just going to add to Shannyn's, because Shanyn is one of our fabulous career coaches. So, when you get connected with our organization, and you'll speak to Shanyn or one of Shannyn's coworkers, one of our other career coaches. And really talk with that career coach to determine which of our additional programs will really fit your goals and working toward achieving those goals best. So we have, some group workshops, we have a mentoring program, we have some skills-based trainings. So really, focusing on each person as an individual. And like Shanyn said, people come to us with many, different hurdles that they're experiencing in their job search or in growing their career. So really, Shanyn speaks with these people one-on-one to kind of hear exactly what they're experiencing, to really, hone in on what we can do to support them, in an individualized way.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And so we kind of already talked about what your roles were, but how did you guys arrive at these roles? How did you hear about PA Women Work when you first saw it? How did you get to the positions you are at now?
Oh, yeah. So I've been with PA Women Work for, it'll be 6 years next month, which is just wild. So my background before PA Women Work, I was working for an advertising and public relations agency. And the agency I worked for, we did a lot of our clients were nonprofit organizations. So I really kind of found a passion for using my communication skills for, organizations that were doing good work. And I was pretty young. I was ready for kind of a career change and, wanted to kind of see what it was like to be, in the communications department at a nonprofit. Instead of doing, PR and marketing for a bunch of different, nonprofits, decided to, try to hone my skills in on just one organization. So, found PA Women Work literally on Indeed and applied and, was happy to speak with, our now executive director, and was super excited to get the job, and then have just been growing in my career as the organization has been growing over the past 6 years, which has been really, really cool to be a part of the work that we've been doing here. So
I was wondering, have you noticed like a big difference between working like within an actual nonprofit and then like at the firm you were before? What are some kind of differences you've noticed, if there are any?
Yeah, I think from like a communications professional perspective, in my experience was at the advertising agency I was at. I was kind of doing the same thing for a lot of different clients. So, if someone really, really likes, doing public relations, then I think that an agency is a good spot for you because you can really like specialize in one very specific thing. For me, I wanted to broaden my skill set and be able to do kind of be like the jack of all trades, which is kind of what I am here at PA Women Work when it comes to communication stuff. So really getting to dive deeper into social media relations, website stuff, being creative and creating our ads and our marketing materials in-house. So that's been really fun for me to kind of expand on those skills. So that's the biggest difference I've seen from a communications perspective. And I had a great team at the agency I was at as well. But our team at PA Women Work is just the best team ever. Love Shanyn and love all of our coworkers. So we have a really great team. So I, am just so glad to be a part of this incredible group of women that work at PA Women Work.
That's wonderful. Shanyn, how did you arrive at your role?
It's actually kind of funny. One of our coworkers, Heather, and we met about 13 years ago when our first kids were first born. We just randomly were introduced to each other via a mom's group on Facebook, like just a bunch of strangers who all had babies at the same time. So I met Heather that long ago, and we kept in contact over the last few years. Well, I was on LinkedIn one day, and she had shown a change to her employment status and said she was working for this organization. And I had never heard of it. I didn't know what they did. And it was a very short time later, within maybe a month or two, maybe at the most like 3 months or so, that they had an open position. So I was just perusing on LinkedIn, and I must have liked that job. Like I just saw the post and hit like. Well, Heather, it was like seconds later, I get a text from her. So I saw that you might be interested. I'm like, whoa, this is just a like. It was very relaxed. But she said, you would be so great for this role. And, it was just one of those funny small world situations. So a few things, more developed. I eventually applied and, ended up getting a great position here and knowing more about what we do. And I've been here ever since. So that was only, I think the application process, I believe it started in like November. And then I started in January of 2024.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. And it's like kind of serendipity because they all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you guys obviously are a nonprofit, and a lot of this podcast is about community and how a community can support efforts. So how do you see people in the community and people in general supporting the efforts you guys do through it?
Yeah. So, at PA Women Work, it's really interesting because a lot of times, I will say the people who enter our organization as participants eventually, oftentimes become then volunteers or donors, because the whole part is, working to grow your career, find a job, build a better future. So, once they've kind of achieved those goals, we are so happy that then, they want to come back and volunteer with us or donate. So it's really cool. We sort of have this very like fluid community at PA Women Work where, sometimes our volunteers or our donors then find themselves in a place where they're like, hey, I could benefit from one of these classes. So it's really great. It's just PA Women Work. I always describe it as a community of just women lifting each other up and really supporting each other, through their professional journey to really try to encourage a workforce in Pittsburgh and honestly across the state where women feel empowered to go after their goals. We are always looking for volunteers to get involved with our work. We offer skills-based volunteers opportunities such as mentoring, professional mentoring, or doing mock interviews, or even, if you're an expert in something, you want to share your skills. We're always open to talking to people about, conducting like a virtual workshop with our classes if it can be beneficial. And then we also have volunteers who help us with advocacy advocacy efforts, events and fundraising, and then even like administrative stuff at our office. And so for people to get involved, they can or make a donation. We all, nonprofit, we're always looking for donations as well. But they can always start at our website. And really cool, we just launched a brand new website. So it's nice and pretty, and hopefully you can find what you're looking for at our new website. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of our volunteers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll be linking that website when we publish the podcast. Shanyn, do you have anything else to add, or is it kind of pretty much similar?
No, she hit the nail on the head. I feel like it's kind of a contagious organization. When you find out one facet of it that you can help with, you help, but then it just makes you want to do more. And I love that, not even as just a volunteer, but even me as an employee, to get to learn more about what we do and, the reach that we have throughout the community. Yes, I have this job as a career coach, but, there's so many other avenues to go where you can lend a helping hand to someone within an organization. So it's, like I said, it's contagious, and it's a great thing. We have a really great organization that helps a lot of people.
And I'll just add, if someone is in need of our support, right, and wants to join our community in that way, we always have people, like I said earlier, start with a career coaching session. So they would start with someone like Shanyn. So, you can actually schedule a career coaching session with Shanyn on our website. And then you would speak with Shanyn, during your designated time and or speak with one of our other career coaches. And they would kind of hear what you're going through and really guide you to, the next step in our programming and creating a path forward. So if someone's wanting to join the community in that way and needs some support, growing as a professional or finding a job, that can also be found on our website.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the mentorship aspect, which is something I really love, because like my mom's been like a professional. She's worked in like big tech and everything. And like she'll drop like random bits of advice for me, like even as I'm applying to like college or like just doing random things like in my everyday life. And she'll be like, you should do that. Or like, I wish I'd known this when I was your age. And I have always kind of taken that for granted because she's always been there. But for some people who don't have that opportunity, what you guys do is honestly amazing.
Yeah, and that's so true. Like some people just don't. It is hard to meet people to kind of give you advice. Like it's how do you get connected? So I think that is really what we try to provide, is a space where for those people who maybe don't have a mom that sounds as great as yours, how can I, kind of find that advice to really point me in the right direction? So that's totally, what we're trying to provide here at PA Women Work.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things you mentioned where it's like people will just come and like schedule a career coaching session or just kind of the community feeling. Being part of PA Women Works, has anything like either the way you like from the women you've talked to or different stories you've heard, has something changed your perspective or the way you see the world in any way?
I will say, I shared earlier that I've been here for 6 years. So when I feel like when I look back at who I was when I started my job here, like I was just like, oh yeah, like this job sounds cool. Like helping women, doing communications, like sure, like it's convenient, like it was more like just like, yeah, great. And now like 6 years later, like I'm in such a different place personally. Now I'm a mom and I'm facing challenges as a working mom, and I feel so grateful to be working at an organization that really lives by our what we preach, right? Like, so we are empowering women, through our programs, but also I think our leadership does a great job of trying to empower our staff with, trusting them with flexibility and being understanding of work-life balance. And Shannon's a mom, like so many of the women on our staff are working moms or just working women who, everyone needs a work-life balance, right? So I feel like as a mom and I have now been able to recognize like some more of the challenges that our clients, are facing when they're coming to us. On top of that, just being here for 6 years, I have had the honor of telling so many of these women's stories that have come through our program. So I feel like just looking back, I have a much better understanding of the challenges that women face in the workforce and, sort of what we can do to help address those both locally and on a larger scale, and kind of what I can do to kind of help mobilize that. So I feel like that's the biggest change that I've had personally, just as a staff member here. But Shanyn, do you have anything to share on that one?
Yeah, I feel like since I started, I have a better worldview about how hard it is to secure a job. And it very rarely is it because of the actual applicant. They could have all the education, all the training, all the knowledge, and still not get an interview. And I think that speaks to the issues among the workforce and being able to secure these positions and hire good employees. But I think the other thing is just the support, so it gave me a better worldview as to how much help women and men need to get that next step, to get that networking piece. A lot of people, it's so easy to isolate in one position, but then nobody knows you, and then you're trying to get a new position. And unless you know this person or that person, you don't even get an interview. So it definitely opened my eyes to the possibility that some people apply for jobs and don't get them. So the support that we provide is important. And it's a bigger part than I realized.
Yeah. Thank you, both of you, for that. And you kind of, you kind of mentioned something where it's like being a working mother or working women and needing that like work-life balance and flexibility. And unfortunately, that's not something that's like offered in a lot of places. And it's still something that needs like a lot of advocacy for. Like I remember my mom, she was like, it was like for me and my little sister, she was like, yeah, like I had to go back to work very quickly. And there was a lot of pressure even while she was there. She faced difficulties and just kind of like a stigma a little bit at work. Can you kind of speak on that a little bit? Like how like PA women work can like play a role, or just things that you've noticed?
Yeah, I think personally, like, again, like our organization, just to me, it is a community where like women feel supported. So I think like if, you are someone who is navigating some of those challenges at work and, you're struggling with that, we are a community of working women who, someone in our organization has probably gone through the same challenge that you've gone through, or one of our mentors can kind of help you navigate, some of those challenges. But I mean, yeah, being a woman and a working woman is hard, and being a working mom is hard. And childcare is hard. Like it is all so hard. And so just being part of an organization that really understands that, and whether you're a volunteer or a client or whatever, but just being surrounded by people who can relate and understand has really been helpful for me. Obviously, I'm on staff, but I know that some of our volunteers and participants would say the same. So, yeah, how about you, Shanyn?
Definitely. I feel like PA women work has opened up my eyes to the possibility of balancing work and life, because in previous position, what I thought was a good system actually wasn't working as well as I thought. So to know that I can come to work and, whether it's me working remotely or coming into the office, if one of my kids is sick, at the beginning, I didn't realize that was allowed, and I remember reaching out to my supervisor and saying, I'm so sorry, I'm not able to come in for the meeting. My little girl is sick. And she said, oh, that's totally fine. We'll create a Zoom link for you. Like you can just have a virtual, or even if that's not something you can do, that's fine. We'll save the notes. And I remember thinking, really? Like you're fine with me, and she said, that's where you need to be. You need to be with your daughter. And it was like, yes, I do need to be with my daughter, because, in addition to being someone who cares about the work that I'm doing at PA Women Work, I also care about the work I'm doing at home. So to be able to have that freedom and that, to be allowed, it makes you do the work better, knowing that they appreciate that you have other hats.
And I'll just add, I feel like, because that's such a good point, Shanyn. Like, I feel very like blessed to work here. And this is the environment that works for me. Like, right. Like, and this is like, and you kind of discovered that through, other jobs, and then coming here and realizing like this is the right environment for you. And I think that like at PA Women Work, what we try to do is like help our clients find what's right for them, right? Like not everyone necessarily needs to work from home or wants to. So everybody has different needs to meet their work-life balance or to meet their work goals, or, their work culture, preferences are different. So I think that's, one thing that we try to do here is just like help you identify like what is the best setting for you and what will help you be successful both personally and professionally, and then trying to find the right fit, the right job to fit that need.
Yeah, perfect. And I know we were kind of through the answers, you were like talking about kind of a little bit of larger issues in the workplace. Sometimes there's like, it's hard. And one of the things that happened recently is that like some big tech companies like Meta and Amazon have started like rolling back their diversity initiatives, which often like play a large role because women have historically been left out of the workplace. Is there something that you feel like PA Women Work like embodies, or the work that you do that can kind of speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start, but Shanyn, please chime in. I think PA Women Work, like a part of our core values is really promoting an inclusive space, both for our staff internally and for the participants of our programs. All of our classes are open to all job seekers. People who identify as any gender are welcome. And we also team up with employers who carry those same values. So that's important to us as well, to really partner with different employers here in Pittsburgh who are searching for diverse candidates and valuing DEI in their work setting as well. So I do think we really try to push those ideas and values forward through everything that we do, and provide in all of our programming a welcome space where anyone who comes through the door feels supported and welcome.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen that firsthand just with coaching calls where I particularly remember someone saying that she was hard of hearing. She wanted to be able to participate in our online programming, but it just was something that was difficult for her. And at that time, we were able to offer the workshop that she wanted to do. We were able to offer an in-person option to be able to have her come to our office and learn just like everyone else. But in addition to that, I feel like our initiatives as an organization are at the top of the priority list, making sure that not only are we encouraging our participants to reach out to these organizations that support DEI initiatives, but to also be that organization ourselves. So even we are a small team, but we're a mighty team, and we understand the importance of all those efforts. So it's important, and I'm proud to say that we support it 100%, regardless of the big companies making it seem like that's something of the past. I think it's just something that we need to hold on to and remember the importance of.
Yeah, I really love that, and I hope organizations more like yours and other nonprofits and even other companies continue kind of to follow that same one, even if like other companies are not setting that example, because yeah, it is incredibly important. And I guess to wrap it up, I always like to ask, what is one piece of advice that you have for younger girls and the younger generation specifically? We have like a lot of things that are happening right now. It's been like a crazy couple of years growing up. What advice do you have?
I can start. I am so fortunate and blessed to be able to have older siblings. So when I'm the youngest of 7. So by the time I was even teenage adult, I was having nieces and nephews because my older siblings were having kids. So I've been fortunate enough to have young women and men in my life for the majority of my adult life so far. And so I feel like when people ask me like, what's advice you would give? I kind of consider that like, if I would tell my niece this, or my nephew this. And I think the biggest advice I would give is to give yourself some grace. I'm sure Abby can attest this too. The pressure that the world puts on you fresh out of high school or like those final years, like you were saying, deciding which college to go to and deciding which major you're going to do. It's perfectly okay to not know. And that does not mean anything negative about you or trying to figure it out, you could talk to 25 and 30-year-old men, women who are also still trying to figure it out. And I wish I would have been told that at that age. So just giving yourself grace and saying, hey, I may not know what I want to do, but I know I have a lot to offer, and just trying to navigate those decisions and know that no matter, where you start, that doesn't have to be where you finish.
Yeah, I really love that. And it actually matches a lot with the women we had on the podcast last week. And she was talking about, and she works at like a rehab organization, and they support women who have gone through addiction issues. And she was like, yeah, like giving yourself grace, like it sounds like even kind of a little bit small, but like it plays into such big things because there's so much pressure, and that can often take a very serious turn. So I like to see like the kind of cross connection, how that's something we kind of all need to prioritize.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's great advice. I was just going to say, to build connections, and not be afraid to ask questions. So, if it is, I feel like this idea of like having a mentor is something that has been talked about a lot, like, in especially at PA Women Work, because we have a mentorship program, but just, in a larger scale as well, just like, and I feel like I had mentors, when I was younger, and I didn't even necessarily know that they were a mentor, and so I feel like when you look at it at that lens, like, oh, is this person like mentoring me? Like, I should ask them questions. So I think if you meet someone who is like, a little bit, maybe a little bit more experienced than you, like, don't be afraid to ask them questions and ask their advice. Cause I feel like most of the time, especially as women, like most women want to lift each other up and help each other out. So, if you are curious about what someone does at their job, and you want to know what they do and how they got there, don't be afraid to ask and have those conversations. So you can, learn more and figure out what you might want to do with your future.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Thank you guys so much for being part of it, and answering these questions so wonderfully, and to get a couple of different perspectives was amazing. And so I really appreciate everything you guys did today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It was nice to be on.
And that wraps up our episode for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you back soon for the next episode of Women Power Impact.